Hey, Facebook family, happy Thursday. Welcome to Sergeant Dorsey Speaks live on Facebook and my other social media platforms. I won't be live there. Facebook, I will be live. YouTube subbies, you're going to get an uploaded video, and I'm going to attempt to put a portion of this on Instagram, understanding that I've got a 15-minute time constraint on IG. So I'll see how much of this I'll be able to get over there as well. But welcome, welcome. I've got some updates for you that I want to share with you about things that are trending. Hey, Mac, happy birthday. Is it today or was it yesterday, Mac? Happy birthday. I don't know if it's happy belated or just happy birthday, but anyway, you know what's up. I'm thinking about you, sir. Um, I've got some updated information that I want to share with you. I got some fuss that I want to do because I got a bone to pick with my YouTube subbies. You guys know I tell you all the time that the subbies are kind of rowdy over there. Hey, Ron. And so every now and again, one of them sparks my competitive edge. And, I come from a place where silence is agreement. And so, okay, Mac, it was yesterday. Yeah, because I did say happy birthday to you on your timeline. So hope you're still enjoying it. I always celebrate my birthday for an entire month. So just because it was yesterday didn't mean that I couldn't acknowledge you yet again today, sir. So I hope your birthday was great. Anyway, I was saying that, silence is agreement. And so, oh, let me do this. And you guys too, as you come into the room, please share this on your timeline with your friends. Do a watch party, whatever it is that you need to do to share this, because there may be some information that I'll be putting out there today that others don't know, haven't heard about. But really, I just want you to share it because I think what I'm saying is of great import. And everybody should hear and know what it is that I'm talking about. So please do that. And I'm going to do this as well. I'm sharing this on my other two fan pages, retired LAPD Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey, as well as Sergeant Dorsey Speaks, my public pages on Facebook. So for those of you who aren't hip to that, if you can't get on my personal page, some of you are here now, then you can certainly follow, listen, share, like Sergeant Dorsey Speaks or retired LAPD Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey, because I vacillate back and forth between my friend request limit, right? 5,000, 4,998. When somebody's had enough of me and they self-delete, I find a way to, bring some of you who are on deck onto my personal page so you can be a part of this. So, hey, Dwayne, I'm staying safe, sir. I hope you are too. So I wanted to just share with you some updates, but let me start off because listen, I've got a lot of new subbies, and thank you for those of you who are finding me on YouTube and are appreciating my content. I appreciate you. Thank you to everyone who has been supporting my mission, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks, by visiting my Cash App, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks, and Venmo, Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. And for those of you who have recently purchased my book, and I will be, if I haven't already put an autographed copy in the mail to you, thank you for that as well. Anyone who's interested in getting an autographed copy of my autobiographies, Black and Blue, The Creation of a Social Advocate, you can do so by visiting one of my two websites, sgtdorseyspeaks.com or sergeantdorseyspeaks.com. You can purchase my book from either place, and I will send you an autographed copy from me to you. So, hey, Roy, what's up? Hello, Mike. So, I got a lot of new subbies, maybe some new folks here on Facebook as well. For those of you who don't know, let me do my standard spiel that I haven't given in a while. I'm a retired LAPD sergeant. I spent 20 years on the Los Angeles Police Department, all 20 years in uniform, in patrol-related functions. And so I know a thing or two about a thing or two. Hey, Pam. Hey, Carol. And so having said that, Let me just holler at a subby or two real quick. Facebook, you just listen in. This doesn't really apply to you, but I've got some folks over there who are all caught up in their feelings because I've had a lot to say, and you know this about the fatal shooting of Ahmaud Arbery. Hashtag justice for Ahmaud, hashtag I run with Maud. And folks, who don't look like me are accusing me because I find fault in these two white men shooting an unarmed black man, a black man who could have been my son. And so they're taking offense with some of the stuff that I've had to say about it, and they're calling me a race baiter. And so let me say this for you card carrying Klan members, cave dwelling mouth breathers. You guys, just you guys, the card carrying folks. I have no fucks to give about what you think about me. And because I'm an equal opportunity cusser outer tonight, for those of you who might look like me, because I don't know, because you guys hide under the anonymity of a avatar or some fucked up ass name like Tony the Tiger, when you talk shit to me, you internet gangsters. You think that I don't talk the way that you think that I just started talking the way that I talk because what? I don't know. I just landed. And so now I have something to say about police officers who misuse their position, who abuse, who assault under the color of authority. You think I just started talking about this? And so for those of you subbies who think I just fell from a turnip truck and landed a couple of days ago and have a lot to say about stuff, if you want to know who the fuck I am, you can buy my autobiography on my website. I'll autograph it for you too. Creation of a Social Advocate, my autobiography, where I talk about exactly what went on during my 20-year career on the Los Angeles Police Department. And I really take offense. I really do when folks think that all of a sudden I got something to say because I'm retired. So let me say this, do your homework, do your research. I'm an open book. There's plenty out there about me. And so if you want to know who I am, you can do that, or you can buy my book. I talk about my career. I talk about the trials and tribulations that I had looking like I look coming on the LAPD in 1980 when I worked with a bunch of white boys who thought I had no business being there and who did their level best to try to run me out. But I was having none of that because I've said all along, if you tell me no, then I must. And so I quit a job to take that job on the LAPD, and I was there for a pension, and I stayed 20 years and I got it. I got it. So I didn't just start speaking this way. And I talk about all of this in my autobiography. I talk about, and I'm not going to go into great detail here because if you want to know, you can buy my book. I talk about as a probationary officer at Southwest Division, working with a training officer, Douglas Shore. See, I name names because what I'm saying is true. And so I'm not afraid to tell you who fucked me over on the LAPD and what I did about it. I'm not afraid of being sued because I'm not saying anything that isn't true. Truth debunks any claim of slander or libel or whatever else you want to say. And so I name names in my book and I talk about what it was to be a probationary officer and have your training officer. And maybe there's some LAPD folks on here because, I see you guys stick your head in the door every now and again. And maybe you don't know this either because there's some LAPD people who don't know my entire story. So you may hear something for the first time. And listen, I know Doug Shore, and I'm going to talk about Douglas Iverson. I know that they're on Facebook and some of y'all are all good with them. I don't care who, love who you love, like who you like, friend who you friend. But I talk about them because I worked with them. Doug Shore is an Asian guy. He was my training officer. I was on probation and I did some things that were pretty unheard of on probation because as a probationary officer, first of all, you're a child in their mind and you're expected to be seen and not heard. You don't complain. You don't talk about this was way, way, way before the Me Too movement. So you don't talk about mistreatment. I have been a victim of sexual harassment, discrimination, racism, and even reverse racism by some of my own folks who look like me. I talk about them in my book. I got a whole chapter. When I first wrote my book, Creation of a Manifesto, the chapter was called House Niggas. But then I was told I probably should bring it down to a low roar. And so I took out all the profanity and I revised my book and I re-edited it and I came up with Creation of a Social Advocate, no profanity. That chapter still exists. It's just House Negroes right now. But I talk about those folks on the LAPD, House Negroes. I talk about my partner, my training officer, Doug Shore, who put me in a compliance hole because he didn't want me to eat. I talk about Douglas Iverson, who I worked with in Central Traffic Division, who shot and killed a Black man, a tow truck driver, in 1993. Google his name, Douglas Iverson. Google John Daniels. And while I have nothing to prove, I just want to set the record straight because silence is agreement. And I want you to know that I didn't just start talking shit. That's who I am. That's what I do. And I have been speaking out about instances of police abuse anytime I saw it. When I was a training officer and I worked with folks who didn't look like me, because now I'm the HNIC in this car, we don't set people on the curb because that was the thing to do back then. I'm told it still goes on now in certain places. But that was the thing to do, is pull over a Black man, a motorist, and then set them on the curb because you're afraid and you feel safer if you set them on the curb. And that's actually not how we're trained and taught. And so I didn't allow any of that foolishness. And if you did it in front of me, and listen, these white boys that I work with, they didn't know what to make of me because I'm not your garden variety police officer. I didn't look like them. I didn't walk like them. And so I was accused of being a plant from the FOI. Look it up if you don't know what that is. And I had a jacket, right? I had a jacket. That's that thing that police officers, when they want to give you, and that's the thing that you become known as or known by or known for on the LAPD. And I'm talking LAPD because that's where I worked. But I'm sure this is, I'm walking down somebody's street. This is what goes on police departments all around the country when you look like me. So I had a jacket. I got that jacket after I told on Doug Shore. Doug Shore was suspended for 5 days, unheard of, training officer, P3, suspended for 5 days because his probationary officer wasn't going to accept the kind of treatment that he was giving me. And then, after Doug Shore, my sergeant, Stanley Schott, my sergeant, was saying profane and offensive things about me while I'm a probationer. This is my sergeant. And it got back to me because I did have a really good white officer who was my training officer, Dennis Freely, who came to me and told me what Stan Schott was saying about me. And I went to the watch commander and I told on my sergeant, and guess what? My sergeant was transferred that day, administratively transferred from Southwest Division to Harbor Division, morning watch, unheard of for a probationer to do that. And so that's when I got the jacket. And I was okay with that because I came on LAPD because I needed a job and they had great benefits. And so I wasn't there to make friends. And I'm not here to make friends. I tell you what I tell you and I talk about what I talk about because I happen to spend 20 years on as fucked up as it is in some regards, a premier police department. I think LAPD is the best. I think we are the best trained. I spent 20 years there. And because of that, folks want to know what I have to say. If I work for, no disrespect, but if I work for Rialto PD or Fontana PD or Hawthorne PD, nobody would probably give two shits about what I have to say. But coming from the Los Angeles Police Department at a time when I worked there, coming under the command of Daryl Francis Gates. Hey, Mac. Hey, Fran. Folks want to know, what it was like. And they understand that I come with great credibility. And it was important for me to spend all 20 years in patrol because had I not done that, I realize now that I wouldn't be able to speak to you with the level of credibility about the kinds of things that I went through and about the kind of things that I saw and about the kinds of things that I wouldn't tolerate. I couldn't in a real incredible way. I couldn't talk about how I knew Christopher Dorner was going to be executed because I had been through everything he had been through and I knew he wasn't lying. Thus, my first book, Creation of a Manifesto. Had I not gone through everything that I went through, and trust me, when I was going through it, I wasn't having a good time. But had I not gone through that, I couldn't talk to do. And so for those of you on YouTube who want to know who I am, For those of you who want to call me a race baiter because I find it offensive that a white man thinks in 2020 he gets to stop a black man and question him, because I find that offensive. You know, you guys are always, you people, I'm going to use your word. You people are always accusing black folks of being a race baiter or being racist because we complain about shit that we go through, the subtle indecency, the subtle indignities that we put up with day in and day out. And as soon as we complain about it, all you guys, you people, can say is get over it. You know, we're exaggerating. We're a race baiter. I am just beside myself today, as you might well imagine. I'm beside myself because of this thing with Ahmaud Arbery and everything that is coming out. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. But before I do that, I just wanted to say to you that I'm who I am. I'm who I am. I've always been this way, and to my detriment, maybe. I was a sergeant on the LAPD, and I certainly know I had the ability. I certainly was a damn good patrol officer, a damn good patrol supervisor, and chose not to be a DL, dick licker, what we say on LAPD. Had I chosen to be one of those, I could be a captain or a commander. Because what I also know is that there's not anybody who looks like me on the Los Angeles Police Department, and somebody gonna get their feelings hurt who's above the rank of captain with a spine. I didn't work with, find myself around anybody above the captain who looked like me on the Los Angeles Police Department that had a spine. And so I was happy to remain a patrol supervisor so that I could have a greater influence over what was going on in patrol. Because listen, know this, as a patrol supervisor, I feel like I had great autonomy over what went on. When shit goes sideways and you guys out there want a supervisor, you're going to get me. You're going to get me. When there's a police pursuit or an ass whipping or somebody's getting their ass handed to them and they want a citizen, the citizen wants a supervisor, you're going to get me. And so I didn't have a problem making sure that my officers did the right thing when I worked in South Central Los Angeles, which is where I spent the majority of my career. And my officers, maybe they didn't like it, but they damn sure had to respect me. And on the days when I was working, none of that foolishness happened. On the days when I was partnered with somebody who had a little more time on the job I did, they didn't do that stuff because they didn't know what to make. And you know, for those of you who are LEO, you understand how that whole we want to make sure your partner's going to back you. In other words, like the female did the other day over in East LA. I'm sure everybody knows that she'll back you. If you're over there handing somebody their ass like Officer Frank Hernandez did in East LA, 20-year veteran, by the way. He's over there handing this guy his ass, and the female is just standing there watching like a damn referee. That's the kind of person that somebody like Frank Hernandez wants as a partner. Somebody who's go along to get along. Somebody who's not gonna rock the boat. I'm not that girl. I'm not that girl. And it didn't bother me that my partners didn't know if they could trust me. You know, that means that you don't know if you can misconduct in front of me, so you better not commit misconduct in front of me. And so for those of you who, like I said, think I just landed, I didn't. And so I'm going to say this time, and I don't think I'm going to say it again probably for a long time if I say it ever, but that's who I am. I have nothing to prove. And if you want to know who I am, then you probably Google me. I'm like Marosa. If you want to know who I am, Google me. There's out there about me. So that's that. Okay. Now, whoosha, take a deep breath. Let me start off by talking about the incident over on LAPD and Hollenbeck Division. That's East LA, and that's where this officer was seen on video beating this man. His name is Frank Hernandez, the officer on the department. And listen, I tell you all the time, something national news. By the time something makes national news, promise you the officer has already been involved in engaged activity. Because listen, just like the officer on the NYPD who was threatening that, he's been involved in about 6 or 7 lawsuits, cost New York some money. And so this officer, Frank Hernandez, has been involved in 3 shootings. Ishmael, thank you for that. There's a news alert, and I'll try and multitask. I can bring it up while I'm talking to you, but it's Ishmael's telling me that there has been an arrest in Georgia, and so that means injury. So I try to pull that up while I'm here with you and see what that's all about. And so if there was an arrest, I'm assuming, and you're talking about the son, Travis. Ishmael, let me know. Is it Travis McMichael? Talk about it in a minute. Oh, they arrested 2. Okay, so it was is what you're saying, Roy. Two arrests in Georgia, the father and son. Well, they need to make 3. They need to get that person who video recording, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But let me get back to Officer Frank Hernandez division, who's probably going to be he'll retire. He's got over 20 years, so he'll retire. He'll pull the pin before they can get him proper, and he has a right to do that because of the Police Officer Bill of Rights. If anybody's got their panties in a bunch about that, then you need to get involved in your community. You need to figure out what the police officer's Bill of Rights is and what it affords a police officer. And if you have issue with it, then get busy in your community trying to change the police officer's rights. So Frank Hernandez, 3 on-duty shootings during his career. There was one recent shooting that he was involved in. It says that the police commission found fault. In other words, they found fault with the police commission finding fault with his tactics doesn't mean that anything is going to happen, because at the end of the day, I told you, police chiefs have autonomy. That is their fiefdom. That's their kingdom. What, if any, discipline an officer is going to get? That's why NYPD has so many civil suits that have been settled, because NYPD is okay with him over there mistreating folks and beating folks up. The police commissioner allows that to happen. Allowed Frank Hernandez on the job and continue until now they're going to have to do a punctious pilot. So in one shooting, the commission found fault. 2 years before that, there was a shooting. He was involved in some kind of an incident. This was real controversial because he was involved in something, and then he saw another suspect, kind of like New York, that had nothing to do with what he was involved in. He redirected his attention to this other person who turned out to be an 18-year-old, wound up shooting this kid. The kid wasn't even involved in whatever was going on that he was on to investigate, yet he redirected his attention and wound up shooting this kid. And then the charges were dropped involving either this kid or another one. Somebody whose last name is Wolf, also shot by Hernandez in July of 2009. And the charges against Wolf were only dropped. In 1999, Hernandez shot a robbery suspect. Now, this person allegedly had a gun and pointed it at him. It's reported to have been a woman, so maybe that shooting was a good one. But nonetheless, 3 shootings in over 20 years, and over 20 years could mean 20 years and a month. I don't know. I was in the department for 20 years. I shot no one. So I know that you can work in a busy division, because that's, the white officers refer to the South as a busy division. In other words, division where Black and brown folks are. You can work in a busy division. Not that raggedy car crash that, because people hear Rampart and they're like, "Ooh, did you work Rampart?" No, real crash. Operation South Bureau crash in 1984, when Daryl Francis was the police chief, and we were having hammered task force operations over at the Coliseum. Some of you know what I'm talking about. That's the crash that I worked. You know, us patrol officers, we get a, you know, salty, and, you know, we all think we're shit, right? I say this sometimes when I talk to people, you know, if you talk to detectives, you know, they'll tell you that they're the shit. And listen, I take nothing away from, you know, guys who work specialized elite units like robbery, homicide. Those are the big boys. Take nothing away from patrol officers, ground pounders, with the backbone of a police department. And so, having worked all 20 years in patrol as a female, and let me just say this, I'm smelling myself, not a female, black or white, Los Angeles Police Department, who can see that they have 20 years in patrol during the time that I did. Because really, now there was some black chicks on PD before I got, right? Women had just transitioned from being police skirts to just changed, and the cowboys, policemen, and they were really pissed off when, you know, women started coming on, because then the batch of police officers, so that's universal. So there were some black women, not that many in patrol. Okay, Roy, looks like you're sharing the article with me. I'll thank you for that, and I'll take a look at it. Okay, having trouble with my audio? Let me sit still and not move around because I'm getting all worked up. Let me know if my audio is still okay, Mac. But I was saying that there's not a female, black or white, on the LA during the time that 80. A friend of mine refers to those years as the hot year in the LAPD. That time has come and gone. And so you do 20 years of patrol now, but you're doing a punk 20 years. You're not doing real hard time. I think I did real hard time. And so, you know, I'm a trailblazer. That's who I am. I'm a trailblazer. And so I went through some shit on the LAPD, so that the girls who came behind me were to go through some shit. See, changes were made. I'm not saying that I'm saying I'm feisty. You know, I get real beside myself when you come for me. And some of you on Facebook already know what that did when somebody, I try to be PC about it, but when somebody, you know, Facebook, I do it PC. I do it, you know, can without getting Quisha, but she's in there, know that. So anyway, that now is something going on, somebody's been arrested, and now one of the things I talk to you about is this third person. It's reported. Okay. Ugh, in and out. I wonder if it's going in and out because I'm getting so much shit. Is that why it's tripping like that? Huh. Okay. Let me, if I need to close up some windows and shut some stuff down. My bandwidth is problematic, so let me do that. Close a few windows and let me know if that helps any, and I'll try and move around so that my camera is good and so that my audio is good. I want to talk to Roddy shooting up Arbery. Okay, Mac, you said slow down. Okay, I'll slow down. William Roddy Bryan, he's the person who was behind the video. And I said to you guys the other day that I recording had to have been him because number one, he was recording. Number two, he pulled over when he pulled over, and it just seemed very suspect to me. And so now we know that there was some kind of police report made. A statement was given by Gregory McMichael, the father I now know is a former Glynn County police officer. Okay, Deborah, you said it's still skipping, so maybe because I'm talking so much shit. Gremlins, and I don't know if it's really, I'm not into conspiracies, but I'll continue. Yeah, right, Pam. Every time I get feisty, something happens with my audio. But you guys just bear with me, hang in there, and I'm going to continue to press on. Gregory McMichael, Greg McMichael, he's a retired Glynn County police officer, and he did like a lot of cops do. After he retired, he went to the DA's office and became an investigator. So he was also an investigator, and that explains exactly why the police chief and the good white man did stopped a black man who held in a burglary. Seen the video that would give you the inclination cause, because Greg McMichael had probable cause to stop carrying items. He didn't look like a burglary suspect. He wasn't dressed like you expect. A police officer worth their salt knows what a good burglary suspect might look like, and he didn't look like that at all. Al, I did close some of my background apps, and so I'm not sure why I'm still issues other than Al. It's just somebody don't want y'all to hear what I'm saying. But again, I'm going to continue and press on. Ahmaud didn't look like a burglary suspect. He wasn't dressed like a, wasn't carrying any items that would indicate he had just broken into his house. This structure that allegedly this black man had been seen in, something that was under construction allegedly. And we don't even know if that's true, because we already know some of these folks will lie. Police officers lie, police chiefs lie, district attorneys lie. And so the fact that they said there was a black man the day before in a house under construction doesn't mean that that was even a thing. So the thing about probable cause is bullshit. We know that there's been an arrest. And so as I yammer on about that real quick and see, let me just see what this is all about. And if I can bring it up, I'll tell you what I'm seeing and I'll talk about it. Okay, it says FBI arrests 2 men for the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. I will share the link. Oh no, somebody already shared the link. Okay, so let me see what it says real quick. GBI released the information and Travis McMichael have been arrested for the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. Okay, so that's cool. They need to get William Roddy, whatever his name just said. They need to him too, because listen, you guys watch First 48 like I do. The father and son charged with murder and aggravated assault. They were taken into custody and booked into the county jail. Wonder if they're going to be allowed to make bail and get out like Amber Geiger did. Did they let them out the back? I guess we'll have to wait. But listen, you guys know, if you watch First 48 like I do, you're with someone and they commit a crime and somebody's killed, everybody goes to jail. You're a co-conspirator after the fact, before the fact, during the commission of. So they need to go ahead and get Mr. Roddy Bryan, because clearly he was part of a conspirator. That they were going to go shoot that baby and keep that video for posterity, right? So they could relive it, enjoy it, laugh about it, have a beer, and talk about it. That was going to go down, and that was why he was recording. So William Roddy Bryan, 50 years old, that ass needs to get got. So let's not hold up. Let's not get happy and celebrate. Let's make sure that William Roddy Bryan is also a part of that. It says here, the Glynn County police captain at the time said that the three men, all three of them, the two McMichaels and Brian, were in quote hot pursuit of a burglary suspect, and that they had solid first-hand probable cause. I call bullshit. I call bullshit. And so we need to not let up. William Roddy Bryan, 50 years old, he needs to be in jail as well. For you or me, listen, if one of you if one of you went in the store and did some old dumb shit and my dumb ass was just sitting in the car, with a lollipop, and the police showed up to get me, wouldn't they get you? Absolutely. And so they need to get this guy who was videotaping. They need to get the guy who was recording this whole incident. He's involved in it. He was there for clearly he was there for the discussion. He knew to follow along. Anyway, that's that. I am going to go in just a little bit. I know I'm going a little longer than I intended to, because I got it tonight on Court TV. We're going to be talking about the young man who went live on Facebook. And so let me just say this, family, talk real quick, family, talk to your young people. Talk to your young people. Playing with police will get you hurt. And this young man, he was having a good time. It was fun. And I saw the live video from the young man in Indianapolis. His name is something Reed. And I saw all of the emoji face, the and everything else, because people were encouraging him along the way with that. The police will kill you. You know they will kill you. They've shown us that. Talk to your young people. I can only imagine his mother's probably so heartbroken, number one, that he would be irresponsible and do that old dumb stuff, get himself killed. Because I'm going to tell you this, and I don't know, I'm just telling you what I think. There's not a jury anywhere that's going to give that family a dime when they see that Facebook video and they see him laughing and joking and making fun and light of what he was doing, arguably putting other citizens in, may not have been speeding. Suit of him, he knew that, and so he had in that situation. And so I'm sure he's tremendously disappointed that he would do that. I don't believe that she raised him that way. Knuckleheads of my own, and no, I haven't raised any of mine to do that. I'd like none of mine would, but if one of mine did, how devastating it would be to have him go live on Facebook and be silly in public like that. So please, please talk to your young people and tell them to make better decisions. Remind them about Sam DuBose and how an officer willing to lie and say that he was being drugged down the street when he shot and killed him. How an officer manufactured probable cause to shoot and kill Walter Scott in the back 8 times. Remind your young people Sandra Bland was stopped on the side of the road because she was trying to do a solid and get out of an officer's way, and wound up losing her life in a jail later. And I don't believe she hung herself, so let me say that. Playing with the police is not the right thing, the smart thing, in your best interest. And so, ooh-wee. I'm going to be on Court TV in about 15 minutes. I'm going to have to wrap this up because I've got to switch into my Court TV attire. But I wanted to talk to you about those 2 incidents, and I also wanted to share with you that there is in Minnesota a man who has been charged for the fatal shooting of a Black man after a traffic accident. I don't know if you guys know about this. The suspect, white guy, 20-year-old Anthony Trifoletti, has been charged with second-degree murder. What happened was he had a little fender bender, in other words, a minor traffic collision with 39-year-old Douglas Lewis. And listen, you know how they do. They get out talking a lot of shit, huffing, and as soon as you stomp at them on the phone, calling the police saying you scared them, right? And so now this 24-year-old after this traffic collision, said that Douglas Lewis did something that scared him because they got into an altercation, got into an argument, not an altercation, but an argument. They got into an argument. And this little 4-year-old Anthony got scared and he had a gun. He shot and killed 39-year-old Douglas over in Minnesota. He's been charged with second-degree murder. I'll keep my eye on that, and we'll see what happens as it progresses. In the courts. I've just been handed something by my assistant here. Thank you, sir. There's going to be a press conference tomorrow morning at 8:00 in Brunswick, Georgia, regarding Gregory Travis McMichael having been arrested. So that's great that they've been arrested. I have no confidence. That's Georgia, after all. Ultimately, be up to a jury to see what they want to do. And we know they'll give them probation when they kill us, right? If anything at all. So we'll see what happens. There's another, I'll skip this. This is another story I was going to share with you about a police officer. He was caught sexting. I'll tell you real quick. And if you saw his fat ass, it kind of looks like a Chris Christie in a uniform. He's a police officer who was working a middle school and working this middle school, teaching the young people over there about social media. Careful. He's now a former City of Cartersville Police Department of all things. That must be a small department if they got a police lieutenant working as a sir. He resigned in lieu of termination last month because there was on him sending inappropriate text messages to students over at middle school, not high school, middle school. Can I just do this? Maybe I can just show you what he looks like. That's him. That's the lieutenant over at Cartersville Middle School who's sexting his naked ass. That's just ridiculous. They allowed him to resign before they could fire him because Police Officers' Bill of Rights all over the country lets you do that. He could certainly get a job somewhere else if he wanted to, and it was being handled by the it was given to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. This Cartersville Middle School is in Georgia, so that this investigation to them, and they just that they didn't want to investigate. They don't want to investigate. So that's that. I don't know if you guys heard about the Spirit Airlines. I'll just tell you real quick. I think you can certainly subscribe and listen to my podcast, Sergeant Dorsey, as you listen to your podcast on Spirit Airlines. And I'm just thinking, they beat the shit to get involved, but if you want and a cup of, I got you. So they beat the shit out of this person to the extent that they were bloodied themselves. Their thing anyway. They went in the plane bathroom, changed clothes because to do an emergency landing. Spirit Airlines did an emergency landing in Des Moines, Iowa, but they decided that the fight took place in Nebraska. So Des Moines, Iowa police had no jurisdiction in Nebraska. They couldn't know if they even knew who the combatants were because they changed clothes and they just, right back on with everybody else. Get back on the plane was the person who had his ass handed to him. And, he started off because he said the attendants were talking too loud and some of the other passengers were a little too loud. He or she, yeah, he won't do that old dumb shit again. At least not on Spirit Air. He didn't make the flight. They didn't arrest him, but he didn't make the flight. So anyway, it was that. And then real quickly, as I go, you guys know I've been talking about menthol tobacco bans. You can certainly Google menthol tobacco bans. There is something that's going on around the nation. I have testified before City Council in Culver City, who did decide to ban not only vaping products, but actually menthol. And when I say menthol, I'm talking about Cools, Benson and Hedges, the kind of brown folks smoke. Well, Culver City decided to ban there. Compton was thinking about it, and now they have decided just on a couple of days, Compton City to pass an ordinance that bans e-cigarettes, but that did not include the menthol tobacco. So that's a good thing over in Compton, because could you imagine menthol cigarettes in Compton of all places? And this is such a deal because of the unintended consequences. I don't promote smoking. I think you should deter that behavior by education. I don't think criminalize folks who do smoke. You saw that video that was going around last week where the kid up in, I think it was Rancho Cordova, was beaten up because why he had asked an adult to come in and buy a cigarette for him, and then the officer essentially beat this kid. That's an unintended consequence associated with the banning of tobacco products. Black, brown folks are 80% of the use for menthol tobacco products. And so I'm against criminalizing it. I'm not in favor of anything that's detrimental to our health, but I think police officers have enough reasons as it is to stop and then find a reason to put us into the system. So thank you so much for hanging in there with me, and share this as it is with others on Facebook timeline. And I'm going to see if I can figure out what this bug is before I come back to you again. But we talk, if something jumps off that I want to come back and speak on regarding this press conference tomorrow, and again regarding the arrest of Travis McMichael, charged with murder and aggravated assault. But we need them to go William Roddy Ryan, the videographer who followed, recorded, and listened to that recording. They had already figured that. That's it, family. Until next time, be safe.